At the end of a hallway lies an elderly dog. The urine stains nearby and his dull, lifeless coat reveal that he does not have much time left. When his owner Denny comes home, he rushes over, gently lifts Enzo from the floor, and settles with him on the couch. As Denny softly strokes him, memories from Enzo's life begin flashing through the golden retriever's mind one by one. Years earlier, Denny was a promising race car driver. One day, while passing a farm, he followed a sudden impulse, turned off the road, and bought a golden retriever puppy. He named the puppy Enzo after Ferrari founder Enzo Ferrari. Even as a pup, Enzo believed a human soul lived inside him, making him fundamentally different from other dogs. Sitting in Denny's car, Enzo looked back at the farm, fading into the distance, and began his new life. Denny had no experience raising a dog. Although he was a bit flustered, Enzo really liked his new home. He was so excited he couldn't sleep, and even woke Denny up in the middle of the night. So Denny simply got up and watched a car race with him, even holding Enzo's paws to teach him how to drive. It was that very night that Enzo opened the door to a whole new world and fell in love with racing. After that, he imagined himself as a race car driver countless times, speeding down the track. What excited the dog even more was that the next day, Denny actually took him to a real racetrack. Enzo remembered little about his earliest days, but the speed, noise, and waves of heat at the racetrack left a permanent impression on him, especially the day Denny mastered the wet track and won in the rain. After spending an almost perfect childhood by Denny's side, Enzo quickly grew into a big dog. At this time, Denny had already started racing for sponsors, and whenever he had the chance, he would bring Enzo along. This gave Enzo the illusion that he was also a member of the pit crew, just with 4 legs. Denny always said that a good race car driver should focus on the present, not dwell on the past, and not pin their hopes on the future. From Denny, Enzo learned about balance, anticipation, and patience. He believed that Denny would definitely become the greatest race car driver. Life with Denny felt perfect, the absolute peak of Enzo's existence. Then Eve appeared, and the dog immediately sensed a threat. He blamed her scent for attracting his owner and feared losing his place in Denny's life. Enzo tried pulling Denny away, but could not stop him from returning to invite Eve to a party. Eve said she wanted to watch Denny race, and Enzo thought Eve knew nothing about racing, so Denny definitely wouldn't take her. But the reality was completely unexpected for him. Enzo thought maybe this woman would soon be forgotten by Denny, but once again, he was wrong. Denny never tired of pleasing her, and the two of them grew closer and closer. In the end, Enzo had to admit that he was very jealous of Eve. Not long after, the two of them got married. Even though he was really unhappy about their relationship, what could he do? He couldn't speak up to object anyway. For Denny's sake, Enzo behaved, carried the wedding rings, and offered his silent blessing while teaching himself to accept Eve as family. During the celebration, he overheard Eve's father, Maxwell, strongly opposing the marriage. Maxwell considered racing far too dangerous and believed Denny was not good enough for his daughter. Those words destroyed whatever goodwill Enzo might have felt toward Maxwell. After the wedding, they moved into a more spacious new house, but Enzo still preferred the old apartment because that was the home that truly belonged to him and Denny. After the wedding, the two were inseparable. Enzo tried to express his dissatisfaction by knocking down picture frames, but he was always misunderstood and could only give up helplessly. But at some point, Eve began to give off a mysterious new scent, and Enzo found himself unable to hold on to his resentment toward her any longer. After Eve became pregnant, Denny focused on earning enough money for the baby. He trained and competed even harder while accepting more coaching work, which meant Enzo and Eve increasingly spent their days alone together. Although Enzo did not yet love Eve the way Denny did, he developed his own comfortable rhythm with her and tried his best to look after her. At certain moments, he would always think of his own mother. When he rested his head on Eve's belly, he would be startled by the sudden movements of the baby inside. Enzo thought that Eve's belly was like a magic pouch, with a little life growing inside. He often imagined that maybe the child would look like him. Eve's due date was approaching, but she didn't want to go to the hospital. She wanted to give birth at home. At this time, a racing team called and offered Denny the racing opportunity he had always dreamed of. But Denny hesitated because he was worried about Eve, while Eve encouraged him to seize the chance. When labor began, Denny was away competing. Enzo stayed beside Eve and watched over her while also keeping one eye on the broadcast of Denny's race. At last, Eve gave birth to their daughter, Zoey. The midwife initially kept Enzo outside, but Eve called him to the bedside. He had never smelled anything like this new life or seen a creature as beautiful as Zoey. The next day, Denny rushed home. He felt guilty for not being by his wife's side to witness the birth of their daughter. But Eve was very supportive and understanding of him. She gently comforted her husband, while Enzo quietly lay nearby, soaking in the happiness of the moment. After Zoey's birth, Eve's parents, Maxwell and Trish, visited constantly and always arrived carrying unfamiliar gifts. Whenever they visited, Enzo felt Maxwell and Trish turn the house upside down. The strange stuffed zebra disturbed him most. Maxwell still considered Denny's racing career too dangerous. To reassure him, Denny promised to put his safety first from then on, even if caution cost him every race. Maxwell finally nodded in approval, but Enzo was stunned by the power baby Zoey already held. Denny was willing to sacrifice his greatest dream for her, and before he even realized it, Enzo himself had also been captured by that same power. From then on, as little Zoey grew up, Enzo became the most indispensable member of her playtime. The years went by, and soon little Zoey turned 7. At her birthday party, when she told her friends that Enzo was her brother, she felt incredibly proud. And in order to provide a better life for his family, Denny still often traveled to compete in races, while Enzo stayed home to take care of Eve and Zoey for him. Then Enzo detected a dark, decaying smell coming from Eve, like rotting wood. He wanted to warn her, but had no way to explain the scent. Eve could not understand what Enzo meant. Gradually, Eve started watching Denny's race videos at night while waiting for him to come home. And from these videos and her conversations with Denny, she could feel Denny's passion for racing. And Denny really was very talented. So Eve made him promise her that he would never give up on his dreams for anyone. It was at this moment that Enzo finally understood why Denny fell in love with Eve. Not long afterward, Eve became seriously ill while Denny was away racing. She hurriedly packed, took Zoey to Maxwell and Trish's home, and accidentally left Enzo alone in the house. Enzo remembered that Denny often said panic is a race car driver's greatest enemy, so he didn't panic or overreact. He just waited quietly for Denny to come home. But as his hunger grew stronger, he started to feel anxious, not knowing how much longer he could hold on. After being alone for about 40 hours, he heard some noise upstairs. When he went up, he saw that it was that stupid, evil zebra putting on a clumsy show in Zoey's room, even pulling out the stuffing from its own belly to provoke him. Before he lost control, Enzo hurried downstairs. He told himself it was just an evil hallucination caused by low blood sugar, but for some reason, he was also keenly aware that something terrible had really happened. After more than 40 hours, Denny finally returned and was horrified to find Enzo alone and starving. Eve later came back with Zoey and apologized for forgetting him during the medical emergency. But then Zoey was so frightened by the state of her room that she burst into tears. All her stuffed animals had been torn to shreds. Denny, who rarely lost his temper, scolded Enzo, but Enzo was convinced that it must have been the zebra causing trouble after he left. Afterwards, Denny apologized to Enzo for losing his temper and promised he would never do it again. Then he announced that he had won first place in his last race. The whole family was overjoyed and celebrated his victory. Not long after, Denny went out again for race training, and that day Enzo went jogging in the woods with Eve in the morning. During a morning run in the woods, Eve suddenly collapsed. Enzo raced to her side but could only bark for help. His cries attracted nearby people, who called for assistance and got Eve to the hospital. Enzo had never felt more frustrated by being a dog. He could not explain what he had sensed, call for help himself, or even visit Eve in the hospital. Denny returned from the racetrack, left Enzo with his friend, and hurried to the hospital to stay beside Eve. Enzo realized that Denny was the only human who ever truly understood and trusted him. His friend tied Enzo to one side. Enzo briefly imagined escaping to the Mongolian steppes where his ancestors had once roamed, but he trusted Denny to bring the family through the crisis. Denny soon returned for Enzo, but Eve remained hospitalized. To care for both his wife and Zoey, Denny stepped away from full-time racing and worked additional hours at his friend Don Kitch's garage and driving school, learning domestic routines that were entirely new to him. Seeing Denny worn down by life and looking troubled, Enzo would take him out for walks and runs, hoping to help him regain his energy. As Denny got better at managing the house, Eve was finally released from the hospital. To recover better, Eve and her family moved into her parents' home. Eve looked painfully thin and wore an awkward knit cap over her hair. Her scent and appearance had changed so much that Enzo was almost afraid to approach her. Eve's brain cancer was advanced, and these might be her final days. The couple lay in bed, cherishing these rare moments together. Even then, Eve worried about the racing dreams Denny had abandoned to care for her. Enzo watched all of this and thought that being human must be exhausting. He didn't know if he could do the same, but he understood that this was a process everyone had to go through to become truly human. Enzo stayed up all night, keeping watch by Eve's bedside. He thought, if the devil wanted to harm Eve, it would have to get past him first. He only allowed himself to rest once someone else woke up. Denny often kept watch beside Enzo at night, yet he could not rest during the day either. He swallowed his fear and forced himself to remain strong for Eve and Zoey. After a follow-up examination, Eve's condition had worsened significantly, but she wanted to spend the last part of her life with her family. They did their best to make sure every day Eve had left was filled with happiness. Eventually, the day they all feared arrived. Enzo remained nearby as Eve took her final breath. The family attended Eve's funeral, but Enzo stayed behind, holding her little knit cap as though she were still beside him. Immediately after the funeral, Denny faced another devastating conflict. Maxwell demanded custody of Zoey and threatened legal action, insisting that Denny's racing life offered the girl no stable future. Denny tried to walk away from the argument, but Maxwell continued provoking him. When Denny grabbed his arm to stop him, Maxwell lost his balance and fell into a flower bed. Denny immediately offered help, but Maxwell angrily rejected it. Before leaving, Maxwell warned that Denny had just made an enormous mistake. Denny did not understand the threat and ended the argument. He hired a lawyer to handle the custody dispute. Mark initially believed the case was straightforward because courts normally favored a loving biological parent. Before Denny could feel relieved, Maxwell's warning about his enormous mistake suddenly became clear. Maxwell accused Denny of assault. As police took Denny away, Enzo felt completely helpless. Mark quickly arranged bail, but during Denny's detention, Maxwell and Trish had already taken Zoey into their home. Eve's parents had planned their strategy carefully. Mark explained that an assault conviction might not send Denny to prison, but it could destroy his custody case. The accusation also produced a temporary restraining order that prevented Denny from seeing Zoey for 90 days. Enzo felt this was so unfair to Denny. He had already lost his wife, and now someone was taking his daughter away from him too. Not long after, because Zoey missed Enzo, Enzo got a chance to see her. At that moment, he was once again glad he couldn't speak, because he had no idea how to comfort this sad little girl. He could only quietly stay by her side. After Zoey fell asleep, Enzo decided to punish Maxwell in the only way a dog could. He ate spicy peppers that upset his stomach, filled the house with terrible gas, and left a mess behind. Maxwell quickly sent him back to Denny. And seeing the familiar driveway, Enzo's dream of racing was rekindled once again. But no one expected that luck would quietly arrive at this moment. A Ferrari executive extended an offer to Denny at the factory headquarters. Luca had studied Denny's wet weather racing and invited him to work for Ferrari in Italy, testing new sports cars and teaching other drivers. Denny wanted the position, but the restraining order and custody proceedings made leaving the country impossible for the moment. Luca gave Denny his contact information and promised that the Ferrari opportunity would remain available once the legal case was resolved. After a long 90 days, Denny was finally able to see his daughter. Mark advised Denny to consider surrendering custody. Maxwell offered to drop the assault charge and allow regular visitation if Denny gave Zoey up voluntarily. If Denny continued fighting and was convicted of assault, he could lose custody anyway and possibly be denied visitation as well. He needed to weigh his options before making a decision. That night, running in the rain, Enzo sensed Denny's frustration and inner conflict. He even imagined an escape plan. He imagined helping Denny secretly pick up Zoey from school and flee the country. Lost in the fantasy, Enzo hesitated while crossing a street. Denny shouted for him to stop, but an approaching car struck the dog before he could move. Denny rushed Enzo to an animal hospital, where tests revealed severe internal bleeding and damage to one kidney. The veterinarian warned Denny that Enzo's age and the extent of his injuries made recovery uncertain. Enzo was lucky. After several days unconscious, he recovered. During Enzo's recovery, Denny began surrendering to the pressure and prepared to sign away custody of Zoey. Enzo could hardly believe it. This was not the Denny he knew, the racer who had taught him never to surrender. Enzo seized the signed agreement, carried it downstairs, and tore it apart. Denny understood the message immediately. The dog's refusal restored his courage, and he decided to keep fighting for his daughter regardless of the cost. At the assault trial, Trish's testimony became decisive. Denny's side expected little help, but at the last moment, Trish refused to support Maxwell's lie. She could not separate Denny from Zoey by lying under oath, so she admitted that she had not actually witnessed him assault her husband. Trish knew how deeply Denny had loved Eve, and did not believe he would intentionally hurt Eve's father. Without evidence supporting Maxwell's accusation, the court dismissed the assault charge. Denny regained custody of Zoey, and Ferrari's offer was still waiting for him. Life returned to normal once again. After celebrating Zoey's 9th birthday, Enzo's health declined steadily. He no longer had enough strength to jump up and greet Denny at the door. The story returns to the opening scene. Resting against Denny, Enzo feels as though he has already lived several lifetimes. He once watched a documentary about Mongolia on TV. In Mongolia, people believe that after a dog dies, it can be reincarnated as a human in the next life. But not all dogs can become human, only those who are truly ready. Enzo knew he was ready. Denny held Enzo close and turned on a televised race. Then, as though remembering an unfinished promise, he carried the old dog outside and drove him to the racetrack. Enzo had never imagined that his dream of riding in a race car like a true driver would finally come true. The wind rushed past him, and scenes from the past flashed before his eyes. So vivid, as if they happened yesterday, yet so far out of reach. Enzo believed Denny would become an exceptional Ferrari driver once they reached Italy. He wished he could remain beside Denny and Zoey long enough to watch that dream come true. But a dog's life was too short. The two old friends continued circling the track together, lap after lap. 8 years later, Denny had become a successful Ferrari racing driver in Italy. One day, a man brought his son to meet Denny and ask for an autograph. Both were devoted fans. When the blonde boy introduced himself as Enzo, Denny froze. Memories of his old friend returned as he glanced toward his now teenage daughter, Zoey. The name felt like a sign that Enzo's promised new life might truly have begun. There are many movies about people and dogs, but telling the story from the dog's perspective is what makes The Art of Racing in the Rain truly unique. But aside from that, the story is cliched, the plot is flat, and there aren't any melodramatic scenes. So why does it still move people to tears? Perhaps the answer is the unmistakably human soul inside Enzo. The way he attacks Maxwell while trying to defend his family. And later, the shame and helplessness he feels as his fur turns white in old age leaves him incontinent in the hallway. Maybe just seeing these moments is enough to bring people to tears. For anyone who has ever had a dog, this movie is truly the greatest comfort. What do dogs think about before they die? If your dog could talk, it would definitely tell you, just like Enzo did, do not worry. Even if all memories and experiences are lost, everything will be deeply engraved in the soul, ready to meet you again in the next life. So there's no need to be sad. You will definitely see each other again.